Alright dear people, I've got the spoilers for the late hours of One Piece chapter 1150, Emu's powers revealed. It's getting really dark on Elbaf. Emu is fighting here with a book. A character we've known for so many years dies, and what happens at the end is truly hopeless. The Straw Hats have never been in such a situation before. Really buckle up, we're diving in. So no break next week. That's probably the best news ever. It continues straight on, the third chapter in a row. And especially in the situation the Straw Hats are in right now, you just want it to keep going, folks. So chapter 1150 is titled Domi Reversi. More detailed spoilers will probably come out on Thursday, as usual, but today, a day earlier, we already have spoilers, because the whole community, these leakers and all, are going crazy because these are really insane spoilers. Seeing the main antagonist of One Piece actually talking and fighting in the current events is just wild. What the title Domi Reversi means, whether it's translated correctly, or if it's an attack Emu calls out from the book, a named attack from Emu would be just insane because, for example, we know Emu used that arrow attack against Sabo and Cobra, and it wasn't a named attack, so this would be wild. On the cover story, it continues with Yamato. She's bringing Odin's stolen sword back to Enma Shrine, whatever it continues. Last time, Emu stood there on the mat and unleashes Conqueror's Haki across all of Elbaf. That's already pretty insane that we get to see this now. It was clear that Emu has Conqueror's Haki, but now we see it here, knocking out the kids, the giants, the women, but also some adult giant warriors, so to speak, get knocked out. I also heard in the spoilers, it's not explicitly stated that Emu says about himself that he can't fight at full strength because of Gunko's body. That Gunko's body is still bothering Emu here. I believe that too, because otherwise Emu is, as mentioned, this freely transformable black blob, and I think that's even freer than this body. Now Dory and Broggy charge forward with the other giant warriors and attack Emu, but Emu uses a book, a magical book, where some kind of summoning circle appears, from which weapons, firearms, and actual bladed weapons come out. So Emu just spawns whatever he wants. I'm just saying he for now, and when Emu appears here with these abilities and actively fights with these summoning circles, it's now 100% confirmation that all these Abyss summoning circle themes with the Holy Knights and the Gorosei, which we already knew, are definitely part of Emu. We also get a little insight at the end of the chapter into how this works a bit, because something happens that I really didn't expect, which is really not One Piece-like. Emu uses these blades and firearms from these summoning circles and just takes Broggy's arm. Broggy's arm is simply cut off, torn off really. First, Summers loses his entire body here. He's just completely cut down by Scopogaban. Even in this arc, like how Loki was executed, Elbaf is definitely a bit more brutal, and now Broggy loses his arm here. I heard that Broggy is so badly injured that it looks like he dies, and at the end of the day, it's like that. Of course, there's still the question of a return and such, but Elbaf has no king, Emu says. Dory and Broggy supposed to become the new kings. That's what Emu suggests now. No more patience. The plan was originally to slowly kidnap the kids to somehow pull the real Elbaf giants to their side, forcing them to serve the world government and blah blah blah. The giant army was supposed to rise again. You know the deal. That was the leverage with the kids, but now it doesn't matter. The kids are already lying there, unconscious, from Emu's Conqueror's Haki. Emu's Conqueror's Haki has no patience at all, and uses an attack called Devil's Contract. That's what this attack Emu uses here is called. How insane is that? And he transforms Dory and Broggy into demons with exaggerated strength and invulnerability. It says here that Dory and Broggy had to sacrifice their lifespan for this, to gain these powers, against their will, mind you. So Emu just did it, and for that, real lifetime was somehow given up, but they gained strength and invulnerability, but they're also somehow darkly corrupted and no longer themselves. And that's not all. Emu does this at the end, with the entire giant army. The giant warriors are all these weird demons, all much bigger now. They're supposed to be as big as Oars, you know, from Thriller Bark. That big, completely dark, invulnerable, with strength. And I heard it's also stated at the end in the spoilers that each one of them has their own devil fruit power. Emu gave each one an individual devil fruit power, tailored to them. How insane is that? Plus, they're invulnerable. Those killing 'em summoned monsters, those dream monsters, are still there too. A real dark giant army of demons led by Emu, now probably storming toward Jarul to kill him. Jarul, the oldest giant there. I wonder why Emu wants to kill him so badly, but it looks so bad now. Really, how bad does this situation look? Why is it written that Emu is actively fighting with a devil's contract, with a real contract with the devil that Emu has? Or maybe Emu is the devil and makes this contract with Dory and Broggy. That's actually more likely, that Emu is really the devil here, and just makes the devil's contract, and Dory and Broggy of course get the strength, the invulnerability, but had to give up lifespan. And I wonder, where does that lifespan go? Does it go into Emu himself? And can Emu then distribute that lifespan to people in his own circle? And now there's an army full of O's-like demons that regenerate, and all have devil fruit powers, and are generally much stronger. So, that's probably how it happened with the Holy Knights too. I just wonder, are they now all really 100% evil, no longer themselves, and unable to control themselves, like a zombie army? Or are they still evil but sharp-minded, like the Holy Knights? That's what I'm really wondering now. And why isn't our protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy, standing here on the mat? The antagonist is there, folks, with a huge army. I can't believe that. It's really exciting how this will continue, folks. I can hardly imagine how they're supposed to wrap this up or resolve it so the Straw Hats come out alive. Situations have often looked very, very bad. Onigashima against Kaido didn't look great at times either. Or back then against Eni's lobby with CP9, it already looked really hopeless. But this is a whole other level of hopeless. This is really the worst thing the Straw Hats have ever faced. Worse than Kaido and Big Mom, because Emu is so unpredictable. And the thing is, they all regenerate. They need this technique from Scopper Gaban, which only he has, but he's been stabbed and is lying somewhere in the underworld. So I wonder if he can pass on this tutorial, if it can even be implemented that quickly, and if they'd even fight the giants, because they're actually allies. Would they take permanent damage if you attack them with that weird haki? Or do they regenerate afterward? How can you stop this whole thing? Shanks has to come. I think at most, something like a haki burst from Joy Boy like we saw, that sent the Gorosei back, could maybe scare off Emu and this whole demon army. I think only an exaggerated haki like that can resolve this now. I don't know Shanks, Scopper Gaban, if he really gives it his all again, or Luffy, but I really wonder if he can grow beyond himself this quickly. Folks, write your opinions in the comments. Really an insane chapter, an action chapter where it really looks hopeless now. I've said it a lot, but you get it, it's really wild. But we also know that Mary Joa is burning. We haven't seen anything more about that, and it could be that whoever set it on fire, what if Dragon now goes into Mary Joa and somehow meets Emu in the Pangaea castle, or touches or influences him with haki, so that Emu can't be on Elbaf anymore, and then this whole thing gets resolved quickly because Mary Joa is literally burning? That could be it too. Otherwise, really, how is this supposed to be resolved? The Straw Hats are somehow still there. Nothing was said about them now. Nothing about Scopper Gaban either, who's lost, and of course, nothing about Luffy again. I think this chapter has a lot more to offer once we have it in front of us, but this is first and foremost a setup for Emu. Wow. One I didn't expect to be so drastic. That Emu really just goes all out here like, okay, we need the giant army, I'll just make it myself, demons, boom, dark, everyone gets a devil fruit power, that's enough. Why take so long with kidnapping kids and all that nonsense? That's all been thrown out the window now. I wonder now if Emu can also teleport these giants and this whole army, because they've all made this devil's contract now. Maybe they can all travel through this abyss now because they have this abyss mark on their bodies too. That would be really wild. I wonder if the kids were all turned into demons too, and how exactly this works in detail. Leave a thumbs up, folks. I'm out for now, wishing you a wonderful day. Goodbye.